Hey guys, long time no see. I've had this idea for this devotional for a couple weeks, but it's been a little crazy with the passing of my grandpa and then being diagnosed with breast cancer. So life has definitely taken a shift, a change, but as best that I can, when God sends me something, I'm going to try and put it out there. And so we're going to kind of wing it, because if I don't film it today, I probably won't get to it at all. So I want to talk a little bit about when I went into one of my doctor's visits, the earlier visits, when we were trying to figure out if I did have breast cancer or not. I found a lump in my breast, really small, but definitely was a different change. So I made an appointment, went in, got a mammogram done. They did an ultrasound, and they're like, you don't have any history of breast cancer in your family, and you're so young, like you don't really fit the statistics, but what we're seeing is suspicious enough that we should probably get a biopsy done. So scheduled that, was okay with it, came in, and they kind of read through like a document that you have to sign in order to consent and do the biopsy. Well, one of the things on it was that I needed to consent to having a little metal marker device being placed right next to the suspicious area. That they needed that for further imaging and for helping the surgeon kind of pinpoint the area of concern. Well, that just wasn't okay with me. All right, with everything that I had going on, it was just kind of the tipping point, and I couldn't hold back tears. I start crying. I'm like, look, I don't know that I can have a piece of metal in my body. I have sensitive skin and tissue that reacts to stuff probably 10 times worse than the normal person. Like, my inflammation is off the charts. The only earrings I can wear have to be solid gold. I can't wear the cheap stuff. I can't wear the cheap rings, okay? Not because they'll turn my fingers color, because it literally itches and swells and creates redness, okay? So if it does that on my skin, and I have other weird things about my body that definitely tells me that I have bad inflammation, and I've never had any braces put in, obviously, would love to have them, but never got them because of the fear of how it would react to the metal. And so I had this fear of, okay, well, if you put this thing in my body, like, what happens if that makes it worse? What if that makes the cancer worse? What if my body starts reacting in this inflammatory response? Okay, it was just so upsetting to me that I was crying. I mean, I was having a meltdown, the nurse that was dealing with me, she's like, all right, let me get the doctor and have the doctor come and talk to you and explain and try to make you feel better. And then, I could hear them talking on the other side of the door, and they're like, she's having a full-blown panic attack and she doesn't take medicine for it. I'm like, these people think that I'm crazy. But I'm not. I had a legitimate concern. And honestly, the overflow of emotion was not really all about the metal marker being put in my body and what it might do to me. It was just the tipping point of all these little emotional things that have happened to me that, okay, this is like the last straw. Like, I can't compose myself anymore. This is too much. So when I went home after it was all said and done, I just kept thinking about this, about my emotions and why it built up to such a tipping point. And then God gave me this analogy, which I thought was really good, and so I want to kind of share it with y'all. So your emotions, your heart, your feeling is kind of like this tower of Jenga blocks, right? It's standing there. We're all good, happy times. But then something happens, like, So let me find a good one here. Here we go. Someone just kind of pushes your buttons, right? Something that just triggers you, takes it out. Okay. All right, this happened. It sucks, but we're still standing. We're still good. No problem. Okay. So for me, like, the first thing was, like, my grandpa died, which honestly is more than just one Jenga block. It's probably like several. Okay. Like, just really putting holes in my heart, in my emotion, in my mental stability. All right. Grandpa's gone. Okay. Then you have, like, other family stuff, because for whatever reason, like, when somebody passes, it just becomes an issue. Like, other people's grief, all the bad stuff, like, it just gets exasperated when someone dies. Okay? So, putting holes in it, but we're still standing, still keeping it together. Okay, well then they say that you've got cancer. Okay, which you weren't supposed to, all right? Even your doctors, they're like, oh no, this can't be, like, you're too young, you don't have a family history, just, you know, you're in pretty good health, but you do, you have cancer. Okay, you deal with that, still standing. All right, but it's just like every day, before you can even recover, before you can put some of these emotional blocks back into place, you know, life just keeps pulling it out. Okay, things just don't go your way. Trouble keeps happening. And what happened was not being prepared for that little piece of metal to be put into my body. It was just kind of like the last block that somebody pulled out, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I just literally fell over. Okay? And I mean, seriously, within 2 weeks, I had so many of these blocks just pulled out, you know, before I could even get a chance to, like, come through and put things back in place. Okay? And literally, it was like, okay, there's these holes, but I'm holding it together. You know, I've got cancer. It's all right. God's got purpose. But just this little piece of metal that your body probably will react different to than everybody was just the right one in just the wrong place to make me fall apart. So, as a Christian, what are we supposed to do when life keeps pulling the blocks and the segments out of your heart, out of your emotions, and it gets to the point where you have a meltdown, and everybody's like, why are you so upset? It's such a small thing. It's just one little block. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so upset? Well, it's not just the one block, okay? Our feelings, our emotions are so unstable. They really are just like the Jenga block building. Like, it's not solid, it's not secure. These little pieces get taken out, and they come out quickly, but they take longer to put back in, you know, to build up back to being one solid tower. And that's why so many times in the Bible it says to not trust your heart. Don't follow your feelings or emotions, because there's no stability in it. So what do we stand on? What do we rely on if not our emotions, if not our heart? Well, the Bible tells us that too. So in Ephesians, I'm just going to read it out of my Bible. Ephesians 2, verses 19 through 22. So then you're no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of God's household. Build on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Jesus Christ himself as the cornerstone. In him the whole building, being put together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord. In him you are also being built together for God's dwelling in the Spirit. So the answer's right there. What I need to build my life on, what my firm foundation is Jesus Christ. Okay, he's not just the cornerstone for the church. He's the cornerstone for your life. He's the foundation. He's the thing that when stuff happens and people and events in life starts pulling away at those little emotional blocks, he's the thing that you hang on to when that comes crashing down, okay? Or where someone can say something and it doesn't rub you the wrong way because you aren't wrapped up in your emotions. Instead, you are standing on your value, your meaning, your life depends on God and God alone. You don't need these other things to make you feel better. All you need is to stand on God. And that's when the Bible talks about the peace that surpasses all understanding. Okay, that's found because you're standing on the solid rock of Jesus Christ. Okay, and you're not standing on your heart, your emotions, your feelings, who act like the tower of Jenga blocks. So when it all comes crashing down, that you can still stand, you can still go to sleep at night, you can still fight this battle of cancer, okay? You can still love family members when feelings get hurt. You can still move forward when you're missing a loved one who's no longer here. It's because you rest, you stand in the palm of God's hand, and that's where your meaning, your security lies. And ultimately, that's what everybody's looking for in life, is security. And it is only found on the cornerstone of God, on Jesus Christ. Not your emotions, not anyone else, not your health, not your finances, not who loves you. So you can't control anything anyway, and you really can't control those. So why would you put everything, all of your being into that? You can't. All of your being needs to be in Jesus Christ. And that's the only way that you withstand all of these emotional things happening. So please be in prayer for me as I try to rebuild my Jenga block of emotions, but do it in a healthy manner and do it where I realize that my security is not in that. It's in God. And that's where I need to rest, and that's where I need to stand every day. That way it doesn't matter who pulls out what block of my feelings, that I don't come crashing to the ground no matter what happens, because I rest on Jesus Christ, my cornerstone, my foundation, my rock, my security. Have a good week, guys, and I will talk to you the next time that I can. Bye.